What are you going to do to separate yourself? What are you going to do so that you can look at your work and be like, yeah, that's fucking, I love that, you know? Because when I make my tattoos, I'm not making them to try and impress people. I'm making something that I believe is important and for me, and I know that it's good, you know. And the narrative's there's heaps of like little hidden bits and pieces that I never fucking, nobody's gonna fucking know. Like, and I don't care, like, because I'm doing it for me, you know. Like, and that was a huge point, you know, like, and realizing that. And I think if more people can realize that, like, this is our renaissance, you know.
Shit's about to go down.
I'm feeling something in my spirit.
Chats and Tatts with Aaron Della Vedova.
Hello, friends, and all you lovers of art, tattoo, things made by hand. That's a big one, I think, for me lately. Is as this whole techno revolution is expanding and descending upon us. Like, I just like appreciate what I do with my hands now. I just think that's the coolest thing. It's becoming so much more rare, and definitely tattooers. We are analog as it gets, including blood and other liquids and everything else we deal with. So it's very analog art, made by hand, custom for each person, and I'm proud to be a part of it. The guy I have on today is a absolutely phenomenal tattoo artist. You guys, if you're out there, just go to his Instagram and follow along. You have to see this man's work. It blows my mind and anyone else I've shared it with. I've been following him for a long time. We've never had the chance to meet or really get to know each other this well, but we're going to do that today. How do I describe his work? I don't know. I'm going to throw some words out there. It's definitely black and gray. It's got a lot of realism to it, but it's also illustrative. It's not exact photorealism. There's his ability as an illustrator to work stuff in there. It's got a post-Renaissance vibe to it. It's kind of narrative driven with a lot of human figures involved in the pieces, but each piece tells a story. And how he's able to create these pieces is his own unique thing. I'm going to have him explain that to you. So, but definitely check it out. You're going to be blown away. And but with all that being said, let's just kick this thing off. Everyone, please welcome my guest today, Matt Jordan. What's up, buddy?
Hey, bro, how you going? Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. It's 8 a.m. in New Zealand right now for Matt, and it's, 1 in the afternoon on Thursday, and it's 1 in the afternoon on a Wednesday for me. So I'm glad we caught you at a reasonable hour. We're going to get into the stuff you're up to, which this project you're working on is absolutely insane. But before we get to that, I like to always hear a little bit about your life and how you found tattoo or tattoo found you. Tell us how it all came to be. Give us that.
Okay, I'll try to give you the short version. But a long, long time ago, I was born in Sydney, Australia, actually. My parents were from New Zealand, and they moved to Australia to open a tattoo studio. My dad was a professional tattoo artist in Christchurch, New Zealand, or Otahi, and then he found his way over to Oz, and I was born there. Yeah, and that's it, man. I was born into that world, you know. So it just kind of it just so happened that way, you know. And then growing up, sort of in that world, I guess, is just what made me fall in love with it, you know. I only lived in Australia for a couple of years, so I have no real memory of it, you know. I think it was free when we came back, and I have little kind of foggy memories of different tattoo studios, but the one that I really remember was Skin Show Tattoo in Christchurch, which is my dad's studio that he had with another guy, John Sparks, back in the day in Christchurch when they moved back to New Zealand. So yeah, that's my beginning in tattooing, I guess, is just hanging out at that shop on the weekend. And I was so young. I have like I said, these vague memories of, you know, Sporting and Rogers stuff turning up, and there was stick-on tattoos in the order, or, you know, like I remember the Flash. I remember people coming in and joking around, and I remember the bikes out the front, and, you know, like all that stuff. You know, it was like a fine line you know, kind of street shop, you know, like back, you know, in the, I guess that would have been the very early 90s, you know, was that sort of that era, you know, and Dad being like an 80s tattooer, you know, even back to the, I think, I don't know when he started, what year he started, but you know, he was in that sort of, you know, biker fine line kind of circa, you know, of artists, you know. So yeah, it was just cool as shit, and I fucking just drew and loved it and was surrounded by it. Mum covered in tattoos, you know, and you know, just it was just my life.
That's rad. I'm a little I'm a little jealous just to be kind of born into it like you were, but it's probably has its own pitfalls too. I mean, I'm assuming your dad was your teacher.
No, he actually passed away shortly after that. When I was about 6, I think. He was 35 or 36 years old, and he got bowel cancer and passed away. So unfortunately, I had it ripped away from me. You know, that that really kind of separated me from tattooing completely. I still like drew all the time, and we had family friends with a studio, and they would give us flash as kids, and you know we would trace and color in this kind of fucking 90s spec flash, and that was super cool memories. But unfortunately, with Dad passing away, it just we just didn't have any real tie to the industry anymore. So no, that was kind of it. And then it went away, and I just had a you know a different life because of that. But inevitably, that was what made me want to do it. When I
Well, then how did it went away? How did it come back?
well, like I obviously always drew, and I was never great. I was never like some prodigy child or great drawer. I just doodled and did these kind of drawings of cars or whatever like that I was into at the time, and I just went through life. I sucked at school, and I was all of the things, dyslexic, and speech impediment, and the teachers thought I was a dud, so I just drew in the back of the class or whatever, and then I left school and did some like farming and just odd jobs, and I had some incredible memories from that because it was really fucking hard work, and I learned so much in that sort of world. I left home when I was about 14 or just 15 maybe to work full time, and I did that for a few years, and then I guess through that in my spare time I would still draw. Still sucked, but I did it because I loved it, and then um I guess from there came a point where I had this really cool job, and I had this awesome boss. His name's Brendan. I'm still really good friends with him, and he taught me so much, and it was incredible working with him. But after I left him, I kind of had a bunch of jobs that I hated, and I just got to a point where I was just like, fuck, what? I'm just gonna fucking I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna be a tattooist, And so I approached some old family friends and John Sparks and stuff, and I was like, I want a tattoo. And then they, through this kind of group of people, they got me the equipment, and I just started tattooing in my bedroom. And I just fucking did it, and I sucked at it, but I persevered, and I had a lot of good friends that were willing to let me practice on them, luckily, you know. And that was the beginning, just and I was just all in, like because I'd always really wanted to do it, I guess. So I just knew I had to make it work.
How old are you at this point?
Fuck, 39. Yeah, so I was 18 when I started. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's what I meant. You were 18. You're 39 now. You were 18 when you jumped all the way in.
Years old. I'm like a degenerate drinker, drug taking kind of yahooing teenager, and yeah, I just fucking just started tattooing, and I sucked, man. Like, but like I was passionate, and my friends could see that, and they were just like, "Fuck yeah, this is cool as hell," like we got you. So I just, like I just practiced on myself, practiced on them, and then I got to a point, I guess, where my work was getting a bit tidier, and it still sucked, but like I was, I wasn't giving up. I tried to go into tattoo shops, and they'd be like, "Nah, fuck off." Like, I'd take my shitty portfolio, and then, what, but some people would just tell you to, fuck right off. And there was a few people that were kind of supportive, like for sure, like Matt Parkins and Christchurch, and a few other people that were like, "Hey, this one's pretty good, keep going," and so that was really encouraging. And then eventually I just hung around at the studio called Tattoos Down Under, or Down Under Tattoo. Steve Johnson, he's like triple OG, worked with like Dutchman and Kerry Barber and all those cats. He was the first sort of Kiwi artist to really hit the world and go and learn things and bring them back. So I was getting tattooed there, and I just never left. Yeah.
Yeah, you were there for what? I mean, you're not there anymore, right? So how many years?
No, I never left until they gave me a job. Yeah.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah. They eventually gave me an apprenticeship, and that was pretty wild. Like, because I was already, like, on day one, I did a tattoo, so it wasn't really an apprenticeship. It was just, you're an artist here now, and you vacuum the shop and clean it up and pay for the paper towels and things. So it was like, yeah, 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 it was good.
Yeah, but this is the time, like, did they have you making needles?
Yeah, like it was at the end of that. So
Okay, it was just at the end.
he taught me how to make needles, but we were lucky because we could buy them. They were fucking expensive, but and like, this was like still wild west shit. Like, they were fucking autoclaving their needles and reusing them, and it was pretty loose. Like, just like using like you have this one piece of carbon paper, and it was just completely destroyed. And if I wasn't allowed the new carbon paper, only the boss got that. I'd get the ones with like nothing left on them, and like it was pretty cowboy, yeah. But it was rad. We had some good times, yeah, and I learned a lot.
What all right, so I'm kind of getting the picture now. So you're there, it's a street shop, you're cranking, you're grinding the old school way. And you're 18. When in your I don't know, there must have been a turning point in your career where the look, obviously the look of your work today is wildly different than the stuff you were doing then. Was that just a huge arching slow transition, or was there a poignant moment, an exposure to some other tattooers, a click in your own brain? Like, when did the style of work you do now, how did that come to be, and when did it all kick off?
Yeah, there's a few moments for sure that are like key moments, I think. But in that shop, I was not grinding. I was like, it was quiet for me because they didn't like give me much work, because it was, the shop was a little bit quieter than in its heyday. And so I would tattoo friends and stuff a bit, and I would look at the magazines, and I was obsessed with, Paul Booth and Robert Hernandez and Boris, and all these kind of artists that, and Paul Braniff, from Australia. Like, those were the guys, like, and I just wanted to do black and grey, and but I didn't know how to do realism or make, proper cohesive art. Like, I was just, doing bangers, like, so, like, lower, tramp stamps and kanjis and all this shit, like, and I would try and do like heaps of HR Geiger stuff, but I just blew it. I didn't have any understanding of what made that great, like, I just knew it was great. So I just kept doing it and doing it until I got to a point where I wasn't terrible. And because I think, like, if you do something, like if you tattoo for long enough in a particular style, and you're just copying and rendering, but you get to a point where, if you're really trying, like, there's, you're going to start to get good at rendering, and making these, kind of cohesive, replications of the the thing that you're trying to make, you know. And I see a lot of tattooists, young tattooists like that now, where I'm like, oh yeah, cool, you've worked really hard and you've got rendering down, you know, but there's no art. It's just like you're just doing it because it's fucking cool and you love it, you know. You don't really know what you're doing. So I got to that point, and then I was starting to get some recognition. Like people would be like, fuck, that's pretty cool, you know, like and then I was at this, like, they had this like little tattoo exhibition thing in Christchurch, New Zealand, called like Sins back in the day. And I went to that, and this Australian artist, who I believe was also called Steve Johnson, which is wild. He actually was like, he came up to me and he's like, kid, these are pretty fucking good. Like, he's like, I've got something you need to watch. And he gave me a burnt copy of the OG Joshua Carlton tattoo DVD.
I remember that
And
one.
I watched that like 10 times, and it changed my life, you know, because I learned by watching, and it was the first time I'd really seen and had somebody explain to me, you know, what I was trying to achieve. And that set off, like, yeah, that was a moment, you know, that was huge for him to, that he did that. And, you know, like, thinking back about it, people were like, oh, fuck this guy, and, you know, whatever, like, you know, like gatekeeping. And it's like, man, like, if it wasn't for that DVD, I don't know where I, you know, if I would be where I am today without him, you know. And I, you know, I fell in love with that guy's work, and I pestered that guy for years, and eventually, you know, got, you know, he recognized my work, and then we would talk, and then he would critique it, and, you know, and we, you know, that just having like that validation was, that was like over, you know, that was the first really big moment, you know, in my career.
Yeah, that would make sense. God, it's so funny. I'm remembering having the book he did, but I don't remember having the DVD. I don't know why I didn't have the DVD. I remember some of the stuff he wrote in the book, and he was the first one who was showing kind of these big mag configurations, and I remember being pretty turned on that as well. Like, it was a turning point for me as well. That's interesting. So this is probably what, year 5 or 7 years in at this point when this happens?
Yeah, yeah. I think I started at sorry, at Down Under. I believe I started there when I was maybe like 21 or somewhere around there, 22. I'm not sure. No, yeah, 2021. And then yeah, and then that was a couple of years after being at Down Under, that kind of, that moment happened. And then yeah, from there I just started trying to apply all of those teachings, I guess, and that from those DVDs. And then I started to understand why things were working and why they weren't, you know. I heard somebody explain it like, once you learn how to learn, you know. And like, once I could start to like understand that I actually need to learn how to do this. I can't just keep doing it and think I'm going to get better, you know. Like, so I had to actively work out how to kind of critique what I was doing and develop what I was doing. And you know, you're still just kind of coasting along, fucking shit up, and your tattoos are good sometimes, they're bad sometimes, you know. And you don't really, you're just like, this is cool, you know, like, you're just doing it and going through the motions. And I started to win some awards at tattoo, you know, exhibitions. I went, you know, I took a bunch of clients to the first like big New Zealand tattoo convention, and just was like, I'm gonna, because I still was, I'm at this point, I'm still like not making rent every week, you know, like I've got no work on, like, we're fucking broke, and when, you know, nearly 10 years in at this point.
Mm.
And, you know, we were living week to week, and we just had a kid, and it was fucking hard still, but I was, you know, my wife was, you know, supportive and tolerant of this crazy career, and we were fucking broke, but I kept going. And yeah, I went to this New Plymouth Tattoo Festival, and we took a heap of clients, and there was like 11 categories or something, and I think we won 7 or 8 of them, you know, like. And that, as much as people, you know, like, you know, art's subjective, and you can't be the best at it and stuff, I think just for people to see that, they're like, oh, okay, like he's good, like, you know, like, that got people over the line. And then I started to get appointments, you know, and that was huge, because once I had people that were like, you know, lining up to get tattooed, then I was really able to, you know, push what I was doing.
That's rad. That's cool. Yeah. So now we gotta get to the point here where the work I see you're doing now, all this figurative work, and tell me a little bit about this. And I don't know how long you've been doing this, but I see in some of your Instagram posts how you're taking and creating the photography for a lot of these pieces in such interesting ways too. I think I saw one where, you know, a lot of your characters are flying through the air or floating down through, and you've got these people out on trampolines jumping in the air, and you're taking photographs while the billowing fabrics are billowing around them, and you're using those photographs as your own reference point for the pieces that you're building. How many years have you been doing that? I mean, that didn't start right after Joshua Carlton, I'm assuming.
No, yeah. So I guess like after that kind of the first wave part, you know, of work, there was it was still really quiet, and there was another kind of bit before that I can touch on quickly, where after the whole, you know, tattoo festival and the starting to get a bit of recognition, then like there was a fucking big earthquake, and it fucked everything up and destroyed the shop that I worked in, and destroyed our home, and destroyed a heap of people's lives, and, you know, killed fucking hundreds of people, and in my town, and that was fucked. It was really, really traumatic, but I'm lucky I survived. Some people didn't, you know, and you know, some of the shops, like, you know, there was one shop in particular where, you know, a young artist called Matt, who was really fucking promising, died, you know, in that earthquake, and it was fucked up, and, you know, that really hurt a lot of people, you know, and especially the people in that shop. And, you know, another girl got really fucking hurt, you know, and you know, and their lives will never be the same. So that happened on Tuesday in 2011, I think. On, you know, that was like the fucking, what was it, the 11th of September or something, I think. And on a Tuesday, and I moved to Auckland on a Friday.
Well, let me pause you there though. So you just said that happened on 9/11.
No, I think maybe it was the 13th of September. Maybe it
Oh.
was it was somewhere around there, yeah. But it was in September, and but anyways, it happened, yeah, and that was on a Tuesday, and everything got fucking destroyed. And I was walking home from the studio, and it was like knee deep liquefaction, fucking, you know, everything's destroyed. And I called a tattooist called Dean, from Sacred Tattoo in Auckland, and Dean and Dan, and they're fucking incredible. Just look up Sacred Tattoo if you guys haven't seen what they do. It's amazing. Like Japanese bodysuits and top tier world class art. I call them, and I'm like, hey, can I come do a guest spot? And they're like, are you still alive? Are you okay? You know? And I was like, yeah, I'm okay, but I want to get out of here. So they took me on, and I moved to Auckland, and that was another huge turning point, because all of a sudden I was booked out for like fucking 3 months after never having a week's work, just because I moved to the city. So, you know, the city does have its perks, I guess. And then they were really fucking cool, because they, you know, they sat me down, and they critiqued my work, and they went, you know, this tattoo's bad, and this is why, and this tattoo is world class, and this is why. And they're like, so stop doing this and do more of this, you know, like, and just having a real firm like dad talk to me, like about like just my direction, and like that consistency. That was the second huge moment in my career, you know, and I kept, and I live by that, you know. So that translated into so many things, and that helped me to create, you know, the basis of my whole teaching model that I use at Shipshape Tattoo, with all the artists that we've had come through there, you know, like just being able to refine and really kind of build on that concept, you know.
I think you were saying how these guys taught you how to really get more critical and more straight up about what you were doing, and how to focus in on a certain thing you are doing that's working, and not wasting too much time catering to whatever comes through the door, and focusing your art towards your specific talents. And it's something you still
how to pick and choose, you know, and then it kind of all started to click, and you know, that whole learning how to learn thing, I try to, you know, I kept trying to think of how to refine that, you know. And I remember as well, like I read this article that Gogwe had in like maybe a Tattoo Life magazine or something, and he said about, you know, just showing people what you want to do, don't show them everything, you know. And so I started to refine my portfolio. I started to push that out there, and then I started to do these tattoos and like really think, how can I make them better and better, you know, like. And that kind of led to the next point. Gradually over the course of a few years, you know, we opened Ship Shape Tattoo because it got so busy. You know, I worked at Sacred for a while, and then Blue Lotus Tattoo, and then I just got so fucking busy. I was like, man, I'm going to open a shop. You know, like I'm booked out for 2 years. You know, it was like the, you know, the, I guess my heyday of that sort of just massive, like everybody was watching, you know. And I was just doing anything though. Like I was just doing like wet roses, fucking, you know, like skulls, portraits, and I was good at it, you know. So people were just like, holy fuck, you know, like, and I had that traditional base, but I had kind of worked out realism at an early enough stage that there wasn't a lot of people doing it. And you know, you do a fucking wet rose with some water drops on it and people lose their fucking mind, you know. And you know, and then that just created, like, you know, opened the floodgates to the work, you know. And then that started Ship Shape, and we took on a bunch of artists, and I had so many emails that I could just keep as many tattooists as we had busy, just passing them the work, you know, that I couldn't keep up with. And I could show them what I'd learned, and pretty efficiently, without the 10 years of fucking around, because I was like, no, like this, you know, and this is, you know, this is how we, you know, this is how we move forward, you know. So I was able to, you know, efficiently kind of show them that, you know, and that was crazy cool, you know. But I guess it got to a point where I did that for so many years, and I was so busy just doing the same tattoos, and it got to a point where they just didn't mean anything, you know, like and they were cool and they were important for the people. So I don't want to take away from that, you know. So I was stagnant, and I burned out, and I didn't feel like I was going anywhere, you know, with my art, and it didn't bring me that joy anymore, you know, like. So it, yeah, it just kind of fucking, I just had like I don't know, it's just a fucking
Midlife tattoo crisis.
yeah, just a bit of a breakdown about it. I was like, what the fuck am I doing, you know? And I wanted to feel like a real artist, you know, like, because people were like, oh, you know, it's just tattoos. And so then I was like, well, I'll become a painter, you know. So I started researching that, and it's like trying to work out how to kind of start again and become this, like, maybe if I do paintings, I'll be a real artist, you know, and I could have an exhibition and, you know, have a body of work and do these things. And then through the process of doing that, and I worked out what I wanted to do, I started learning how to do it, and you know, I approached the right people and started to study, you know, the things that I'd never learned, you know, like, you know, academic art and these sorts of things. And then somebody hit me up for this tattoo, and they were like, I want to get my back done like the statue, you know. And I've done every fucking statue tattoo there is, and I'm fucking done with it, you know. Like, and they're cool, like, don't get me wrong, and you know, like, I think it's important and it's a good stepping stone in your career to create these master studies and reproduce other people's work. But surely there's a point where you want to make your own work, right? So I guess I'm ready to quit tattooing. I'm fucking done. I want to move to the country. I'm going to become this painter. And then this guy hits me up for this tattoo. And I'm like, well, why? The statue's terrible. Why don't I just do what I'm doing with my paintings and recreate the narrative and the composition using some photography and some props, and I'll make a better version of that statue, or my own version of that statue, you know? And I pitched it to the client, and he was like, yeah, sure, you know? And I didn't really realize that that was like the that was the moment when my career just started all over again, you know, because then I had this one tattoo that I could show other people and be like, hey, that's a cool idea, but what if, you know? And I had this little spiel that I made, and it's like I felt like a car salesman, but I have this like I'd have a consultation and I'd be like, this guy wanted this photo, but then we did this photo, and look how good the tattoo is, you know, like, and then people were just like, yeah, that's fucking actually pretty fucking cool, you know. And I think there was the next guy that came to me was like, I want like a fucking ghost pirate ship and a compass, and I love the ocean, and I was like, fuck, here we go again, being all negative, you know, like, fuck, I don't want to do this shit again. And then I was like, oh, I've got an idea, you know, like, rather than being negative and being like, fuck my job and fuck this, you know, I was like, which is kind of where I was at. I was like, hey man, like, that's a cool idea, and clearly you have like a massive affinity with the ocean, and can I pitch an idea? And he's like, yeah, shoot. And I was like, okay, so if we look back at history, there's all these incredible paintings, you know. And I showed him, you know, the one that I showed him that he liked the most was the Raft of Medusa by Theodore, and he was like, yeah, that's crazy, but like, can you tattoo that? And I was like, we can tattoo something like it, but we need to take it from landscape to portrait. And I showed him my little pitch, and I was like, we could make this, you know. And he's like, have you done anything like this before? And I was like, nah, but I reckon we can do it, you know, like. And he's like, all right. And that was it, you know. That was, and then we got everybody in the shop together a few months later, and everyone's clients, like 10 tattooists and a bunch of clients or whatever it was, and we fucking made a raft, and we recreated the Raft of Medusa, you know. And that was fucking crazy. Like, right from the when I posted a picture online of just like the gray outline, and people were just like, oh shit, you know, like, you could see it was like it was a real moment, you know. That was cool.
Well,
Yeah.
That is cool, and that is obviously to me what sets your work apart. I mean, it's especially nowadays where with Pinterest and all these different availability to get photographs of things that already exist. And I don't want to shit on any other tattooers because I think there's a lot of that is beautiful. But when I look at a lot of black and gray stuff similar to yours, you can start seeing the repetitive. I know what statue they used. I know that building, that arch is from this church in this location. So to start building your own sets, photographing those sets, using your own reference. Oh man, kudos to you, dude. That is what sets your work apart and makes it totally unique. And that's what I think is, I mean, for me, an artist, I don't know. I don't want to say that you have to be this to be an artist, but for me, I always felt like art was the ability to create something novel, to use your imagination to create something that maybe people haven't seen before. And I maybe that's just my preference or what I respect, but you've done that with black and gray realism that sort of looks like the art of the, you know, post-Renaissance looking art, but it's original. You made it. It doesn't exist. There isn't a painting like it somewhere in a museum. It's your original stuff. And that's awesome. Very fucking cool.
Yeah. And like, you know, I've been the guy that was just kind of going to work at 9 a.m. and designing a whole back piece on Google, image search, and then banging it on at like 11 a.m. and just going through the motions doing these tattoos. Like, I've been there, and that was what killed it for me, you know. So it's like like, it's not to be negative because I've been there, you know, but like, the world's so obsessed with convenience, and that's what killed the whole thing for me. The art, I was just making, you know, I was just making sandwiches. Like, it was, you know, like, it wasn't, you know, I wasn't being a sandwich artist, you know. Like, it was fucking like, you know, like, I just didn't care anymore, and that's why I fell out of love with it. So I had to do that, you know. And I think that's an important part of people's career. But like, I often find myself asking, like, now when younger artists come up to me and they're like, hey, what do you think of this tattoo I did? And I'll be like, man, it's really good, but what's it about, you know? And and I think like technically tattooing is like at this incredibly high point, like where we have the technology, we have the skills. There's so many amazing tattoo appliers, but there's not a lot of great tattoo artists, and what are you going to do to separate yourself? What are you going to do so that you can look at your work and be like, yeah, that's fucking, I love that, because when I make my tattoos, I'm not making them to try and impress people. I'm making something that I believe is important and for me, and I know that it's good, and the narrative's there's heaps of like little hidden bits and pieces that nobody's gonna fucking know, like, and I don't care, like, because I'm doing it for me, like, and that was a huge point, like, and realizing that. And I think if more people can realize that, like, this is our renaissance,
Mm.
and it's funny, like, because people are like, tattooing's this and it's that and it's gone to the dogs, or like, but man, tattooing's so young, like, we've only been, how long has tattooing been a viable career? Not long, like
40 years maybe.
so
Probably even less than that. I mean, yeah, you could pay your bills maybe 80 years ago, but I mean, to like support a family and be able to buy a house and do regular normal life stuff, I'd say the last 30, really.
So if you're now saying, tattooing's gone to the dogs, I miss the heyday, you're just being like, you're just in a slump, and I feel for you, like, but like, work it out, evolve, like, man, I had that whole life, that I had that whole career before this one, and I just worked real, I just had to work it out because I knew I loved tattooing, and so that's why I do what I do, like, and that's why you're noticing and people are noticing, because I'm being passionate, and I'm really trying, like, I went from spending an hour designing a back piece to spending 6 fucking days designing a back piece, like, we drove all around the country taking photos of fucking stunt riders on horses and people getting mauled by dogs to make the manhunt, like, and it's not something new, like, I'm just doing what they did in the Renaissance and post-Renaissance. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, like, but I'm standing on the shoulders of Rubens and Caravaggio, and I'm standing on the shoulders of Jose Lopez and Carlos and Freddie and all those. I have 2 sets of idols and heroes, and without them, I don't exist. So, like, it's not like I've done something new. It's just I'm just doing it. Like, I'm just actually fucking putting my phone down and trying. And I think that's the important thing that anyone can do. And I hope more people do it, because I see these like incredible artists that are technically better than me at tattooing, but it's like, what's it about?
Yeah.
So if they can bridge this gap and have that moment where they're like, oh fuck, I'm gonna try harder, then you wait, man. You wait and see what comes out of tattooing in the next decade. If we can get those people to realize, man, we're toast.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not all of them are gonna.
I'm fucking pumped.
Well, don't worry. What I see out there is 90% of them won't. So you only got to worry about maybe 10% of them.
I'm not worried though. I'm excited. Like, I think it's good. People like people put too much stock in worrying about how many tattooists there are, because if you think of, like, so there's like this little bubble, right? And this is the tattoo industry and all the people that like tattoos, and then this room is the world. Okay, so the more we do big things and have these moments, the more people from that have always said, I never liked tattoos, but I didn't know you could tattoo like that. And the more, people become tattooists, the more clients they become. So, like, it can grow more people can get tattoos. There's tons of people that don't have tattoos, well, not big ones, but you just have to create a market, and to do that, you just have to be fucking motivated, I think so.
You can only give people what you have. If you're not inspired, you're not going to inspire anybody,
If you're just being a troll under a bridge grumbling about it, then you're probably not going to get any work,
No, that's what you'll attract. That's very true. Very true. And let me ask you this though. So that's a great story, by the way, of that transition and that I keep calling it the midlife crisis of tattooing you went through, and how you had to really find this new way of creating tattoos that made you inspired. How many years ago did that part of your career start, though, roughly?
I think it was about 9 years ago that I took, or 8 years ago or something, that no, yeah, no, about 9 years ago, I took a photo. I got my family and I posed them in to recreate this painting that Caravaggio did of Christ being propped up. And I took this one photo, like we went up into the attic with a big skylight, and I dressed them up and just like posed them and took a photo. And I remember just looking at it on the camera going, oh yeah, I can do this. I can make anything as long as it's some people doing something, like there is no limits. And that was the moment that happened, and that was for painting though. And then it was sort of in that next year or so that I realized, why the fuck do I need to become this 2-bit painter when I'm always going to be like an okay painter? Like, I'm already a good tattooer. I can apply this to my tattooing, and it's just fucking common sense. I remember Philip Liu saying that, about becoming a musician, like, and it's like, fucking, what are you doing starting again? Like, just stick to it, like you're there. You're like right at the bit where it's about to get good, and that was the moment, where I was like, okay, I can fucking, and that was like, floodgates open, like fucking, attack dog photo shoots, underwater photo shoots, fucking trampolines, fucking like, I need a beer, like, where do we get a horse from? Like, like it, and yeah, that was it. It was just, yeah, it's only just beginning, man. Like, I've got some plans, and it's just, you think, anything that you can physically photograph and create, then all you need, for me, all I need is the mass of the composition. So that could be, a few people doing something, a few animals doing something, and then like the water, the clouds, the raft, whatever. I freehand a lot of that, so just using good reference, that's similar, and I pull from, sometimes I pull from like an original painting or story, and sometimes it's just all me. But like, the big thing is just study, like, study those paintings, study the meaning. I'll jump online if I'm doing, a story about a composition about Saint Christopher. I'll study everything I can about that narrative and understand why it's important and what it's about and what's the message. And then I'll make my sketch, and then I'll make my photograph, and then I'll make my tattoo. And they're all very different things. If I showed you the photos for these tattoos, you'd be like, that's a terrible photograph. And it's like, but I just need it for the structure, yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, you're getting all these bits of photography, you're collaging them together, then you're bringing in your illustration skills, patch it in the pieces and the flow and the clouds, or any other little bit that maybe you couldn't photograph. But definitely with the human form, I mean, I don't know of anybody who can draw a woman falling through the air with fabric streaming across her body just from their brain. I mean, there's probably somebody out there that can do that, but having those pictures are going to help you out a lot. But it's a lot of extra work. I mean, it's funny how you went off to be a painter, and then you kind of are a painter, but you just took it back to the skin. Like, you're making paintings. Your pieces have a very painterly look to them. So you are that painter. You just didn't change mediums. You just stuck with the medium you had in the beginning, and gave it new life. Yeah, but
realizing that, like, hey, like, why are tattoos, why because I've been told my whole life, like, by some people, that tattooing's not real art or whatever. So like, why can't my tattoos be just as important as a painting? And why can't our tattoos end up in a museum one day? Or what separates us from that? There's nothing. Like, there's just, all there is this indoctrinated sort of like social norm that tattoos are counterculture, or they're bogan, or they're whatever. Like, and that's just some like fucking rich white person ideology. It's not true. You know, there's no fucking difference between me and those artists. You know, like and you know and us in the tattoo industry. There's thousands of incredible tattoo artists whose work is really important, and there's this worldwide thing where it's like, oh yeah, but those are just tattoos. You know, it's
Well,
like,
I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, obviously, it's a social stigma that separates us from the fine art world, and they don't want to let us too close into those circles, and still don't to some degree. Although I do think it's changing. But to be fair, there's a lot of tattooers out there that don't really create art. I mean, you know what I mean? And that's the thing people might be thinking when they say that is, you're going to try to tell me that this guy in this shop over here who just copies flash off a wall or does, you know, little words on people's ankles, that's fine art. And the answer is kind of, to be fair, probably not. But there are a shitload of tattooers like yourself that there's absolutely no doubt at all it's fine art, you know, or whatever you want to call it. It's art, you know. But those two things are happening simultaneously.
yeah, because there's these artisans and there's craftsmen, you know, tattooers, you know, and then there's artists, you know, like, so it's like but that's the same as painting, you know. There's mums out there doing, you know, and dads and doing these fucking, you know, like lounge room art, mass produced, you know. You know, there's AI to compete with now, and there's all this shit, you know. But then there's still great painters out there, you know. And I just think in tattooing, it doesn't. There's for people from outside of this bubble, you know, that even the great ones, they look at it and go, yeah, but it's a tattoo. So this is my thing my wall I'm trying to break through, you know, now, because yeah. I'm not trying to be the most fucking famous, popular, fucking handsome, fucking most followers tattooer, but I would like to change the way people think about it. You know, as many people as I can. You know, tattooists, I'd like to show them that, you know, we can do better if you just think and try and love more the process. Then your art will become more prominent, more you know, special to you. And I think for people outside of our bubble, I want them to just fucking admit that it's good, you know, because when people will say like, oh, you know, I hate tattoos, but I like yours. It's like, well, just ditch that first bit, because that's just ignorant, you know. That, you know, this is my thing, and you know, not to grumble about it, but it's just like when you hear something your whole life, you're just like, oh, you know, it's just like that's troglodyte behavior to think like that.
It's hard when you pour the kind of, I know what you've poured into your tattooing, and I've done the same. When you give your whole life, your health, your mental well-being to something, and then to have somebody shrug it off like, oh, you're just over there fucking around, you're just a tattoo guy. It's kind of like, dude, you have no. Yeah, it hurts when you hear it. Luckily, the people we hang out with probably don't tell us that very often. We got our little bubbles of people who love us and love our work, and we get plenty of high fives, which is nice. But yeah, when I go to like a neighborhood party and everybody there at the party in my neighborhood, they're all like investment bankers and all these different folks, and you know, and I'm in the middle, and they just assume, you know, look at this guy. He's got a nice house. He looks like he makes good money. What is it that you do? And I have to like kind of, I'm a tattoo artist, and you can just feel the room like, huh? But what else do you do, man? You deal drugs or something? Like, what do you, come on, you're up to something. I'm like, no, man, I'm a fucking tattoo artist. Okay. That's what I do. But, that's okay. They're coming around. The world is coming around. And I guess, you know, looking at your work, I'm kind of referencing your more recent body work, the last 9 years, as you put it. You're kind of are just getting started. I mean, you've started an entirely new way of tattooing that's kind of young in the bigger scope. I mean, you look at guys like Philip Liu and Henning and these guys. I mean, they are they've been doing what they do for much, much longer. So I just think there's also a lot of room ahead of you for what's next, you know. But on that note, I mean, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today is this I guess I'll call it a show. It's called, everybody listening, it's called A Body of Work. By the way, it's going to be opening for private people on the 11th of October, but it starts for the public on October 13th, and it runs till November 29th. And I'll let you talk about it in a second, but the way I'm understanding it is, it's high resolution photography of a lot of the work you've done in this past 9 years, blown up to a massive scale. But take it from there. Is that what we're going to see, what people should expect to see at this show?
Yeah, man, that's it. Like, and 8, 9 years ago, when I had this epiphany, I was like, because it was all leading to, I want to have an exhibition. And that was the idea behind the painting. And then I was like, why don't I have an exhibition about my tattoos? And then there was the logistical nightmare of, well, it has to be my intellectual property. And that was what really drove me to develop and push this style, was this exhibition. So I came up with this idea and I just fucking ran with it, and it snowballed and changed over the past decade. But what we've landed on is I'm having a solo art exhibition of medium format photography that's 8 foot tall or 2.5 meters high, depending on what part of the world you're in. And medium format photos on photo rag, the best quality paper, the best quality photos I could produce of this work. That is the best quality work I could make over the past decade. And it was all, it's all for this. It's all for my show, my exhibition, magnum opus, I think they call it. So yeah, it's gonna be that. It's gonna be my really fucking big first kind of dive into the fine art world, I guess. It's like a contemporary photography exhibition. It's a tattoo exhibition. It's it's just to celebrate all of that hard work and to show people it in a way that it needs to be shown. And nobody has really done it before. There's been a few photography tattoo exhibitions, but the whole concept of we sit on these fucking things and look at these like over edited pictures, doom scrolling. Maybe you double tap on it if you like it, or put a fire emoji on it if you really like it. But like that doesn't do the work justice. So to come and see this work 4 times, 10 times life size in some situations, where we're like cropping a section of the tattoo and blowing it up to 7 foot tall, and you'll be able to see the fucking molecular structure of this person's skin, let alone the tattoo, and every little blowout and every little wrinkle. Like I want to see that. I don't even know what that fucking looks like until we print it out. And which is happening this week. Yeah, it's going to be fucking cool, man. And it's been a massive undertaking. I didn't realize how big, and my family didn't either, I think, but I'm so excited that it's coming real, and I'm just pumped to show everyone. I'm pumped for the tattoo community, and I'm pumped for people outside of the tattoo community to come and see it, and just, I don't even fucking know, man. It's massive. Like, I had no idea like how hard and big a job this would be. Just like learning how to do that has just been insane, because we're putting on the whole thing ourselves, me and my family and friends, like put this whole thing together. Yeah,
I can't even imagine. Is it? Let me ask a few basic questions. Is it all your photography?
Yeah, it's all my photos. It's all, like I said, shot in medium format, and we tried to shoot on location with a lot of the photos. So some of the photos are in the water, and some of them are in the forest, and depending on the tattoo and the scene in the tattoo, I tried to kind of curate the photos to be in an environment where they looked right.
And is it an exhibition, or are these pieces for sale?
The photographs are like editions, and they'll be for sale in different sizes. So there'll be, there'll be like a mural size piece, a large, a medium, and a small. And yeah, ranging from the smalls are like, a few foot long. So yeah, it's a big show. Yeah. And we're gonna have a fucking big gift shop, like a museum. It's in I don't know how you would do it in feet, but the space is fucking massive. It must be like 500 square meters, 600 square. It's fucking ginormous, and it's this big old beautiful art deco building with massive big arched windows, like a fucking museum. And we've got like a full gift shop, like there's stick-on tattoos of my work and 1,000-piece puzzles and, you know, heaps of merch from Sullen and some other great companies, and Ghost Line's been super detrimental. Sorry to name drop, but man, without those guys' support, like yeah, it's huge. Like what we're doing for the show, like, you know, just the dance of like putting it all together has just been insane, because we're trying to do a lot, you know, like Bishop's doing a limited edition machine for it, Inkies is doing a limited edition cream for it, like, and you know, Ghostline's been like, they helped me to print all of the work. Like there's all these companies, you know, even, you know, Dynamic and other companies all supporting it and helping it come together. Because like it cost me a fucking fortune, you know. We had to take a mortgage out on the house and get all those sponsors and all of our life savings gone, you know, like.
Damn, putting it all on the line. Yeah, dude, I love that. All in, man. You're all in. And yeah, those are great. Those are great companies and great sponsors, and shout out to them for helping you out. You know, Franco and Bishop, we've worked together for a lot of years. Great people over there at Inkies as well. So yeah, thanks to all those folks supporting the art, really. I mean, yeah, like you said, like without it, would you even, you know, guys like me and you wouldn't be able to put some of this stuff together. It's just beyond us financially, you know.
It's literally like, I don't even want to say the number, but you can imagine, you know, like if you got to mortgage your house and have all those sponsors come on board just to get this thing over the line, like it's insane how much it costs to put on a show like this, you know, just to produce the work is like a house deposit, you know, like, so like, yeah, and I think maybe that's why no one's done it now that I look back on it. But
that's why
I'm glad I've done it, and I'm pumped for everyone to see it.
Well, I unfortunately won't be able to get over there to New Zealand, but you had mentioned earlier it might be traveling later on, so I do look forward to hopefully being able to see it myself. It sounds absolutely mind-blowing, and like you said, kind of the first of its kind, right? First time. I hope you do bring it over, and let me know. I can't sponsor, but I could shout it out. I could let people know whatever I could do to help. I'd be stoked to be a part of it. But would are you going to do a book with it too? I mean, I would assume a book would be attached to something like that. You have all the photography. Has that been discussed?
Yeah, there's a couple of things happening. There's a very dear friend of mine, Shay, has got this company called ThinkVid. So he's been working behind the scenes, filming B-roll and stuff, and he's going to work on putting together a short documentary about it. We're just trying to, same thing, you know, just trying to get somebody to help with funding to make that a reality, if anybody's watching. And then I've been talking to the good people at Raking Light Project, and there will be a big, very fucking cool book at some point, but that's in its infancy, but it's going to be rad, and that's going to be a massive, for me, I think, like following those guys for the longest time and all of the great things they've done, to even be considered to be a part of that that's enough, you know, for me, like that the exhibition was a good idea, you know, just to get that opportunity. Yeah, so there will be a book eventually. There will be a show in, you know, either Europe or America at some point. But I'm going to need a break because this has near on killed me. So yeah, my family and myself included all need a rest. But I think after the show's done, we'll have a break, and then we're going to look at trying to bring the show stateside, if we can get the support and get a gallery on board to bring it over. Yeah, we'll pack it up and bring it over.
Well, you're going to need a big boat for that thing, so good luck. I know you can get it done, but yeah, these pieces are going to be tricky to travel, but you can figure it out. But like you said, you're almost there, buddy. Hang in there. You're just, a couple weeks, few more weeks, and you'll get that breather. I've put together some pretty big art shows, bodysuit shows and stuff. Nothing quite, I think, near this magnitude. But even those things, man, I get done with them, and I'm like, I need a month or two just to de-scramble my brain when they're over. And they're expensive, and I never made money on the ones I've done, but that's okay. You know,
it's about it happening, you know?
Yeah. Agreed. Let me, before we've talked a lot about your show, and that's amazing. I was a little curious with a guy like you when I see a body of work like you've produced about your just your work flow. How often are you tattooing? How many hours a day do you work? Like, you're obviously putting a tremendous amount of hours into these pieces. So what's your work schedule like? I know you live out in the country up in the far north, and you have a little place built out there where the people come, they get to stay there, they get to get tattooed. I'm assuming you probably are doing multi-day sessions with some of these folks if they're coming all the way out there. Which is super cool. Tell us a little bit about that, how you got your workflow with your private studio and out in the country, and how many hours and how much time you're grinding on these projects.
Yeah, okay, cool. I guess, yeah, so I work in the city 1 week a month at Ship Shape Tattoo in Auckland. And the rest of the time I work in Te Tai Tokara, the far north, where my home is. And people fly in from all over the world. We cater to clients coming for a week at a time. So say if you were a client coming from America, you just book your flights to my airport. We pick you up from the airport. We give you a loan car. We give you accommodation. We make you lunch. We have dinner one time. Sometimes I take you fishing or do a cool activity. And you stay for a week and you'll get tattooed for like 3 to 5 days, depending on your tolerance and that. Some people will do 2 days. But generally just so that, because you're making that big trip, like some people will do 2 days and then they'll have a break day and then they'll do 2 days. One dude did like fucking 8 or 9 days, so he's a psychopath. Like it just depends on everybody's pain threshold and stuff. But mostly we kind of gold around that. You come out for the week. You get tattooed for as long as you feel good and comfortable about. And then the rest of the time you chill. We generally do the chilling at the start. You get climatized, get your jet lag gone, get used to, being in the far north, enjoy the beauty of it. And then we do the tattoo, and it's a big family thing. My son helps, my wife is detrimental. My father-in-law lives with us, and Kizza, he's the man. He'll like pick people up from the airport and help, and help us like run around and sort stuff out. And, it's a whole family thing, and my mum's around sometimes too, and, baking and, and then I cook and, my wife makes lunches, my son makes lunches, like it's a whole thing, it's like a family affair. It's, yeah, it's cool, man. It's like a destination thing where we live in the most beautiful part of the country, looking out over this amazing big mountain, Taratara, and like the valley, and we live in Whangaroa, this place called Kaio Whangaroa, and it's like this big sort of series of like bays and coves in this harbor, and it's fucking beautiful, and I love it there. We were always there on holiday, so I just decided, I said to my wife, why don't we move here? And we fucking did, and it's just great. I love it. That's my work-life balance, so I can finish work, and if I've got, well, not this year, my boat's almost grown legs, but like normally we'd go out fishing before work or on the weekend, and spend time working on old cars and hanging out and doing normal shit, like in between the tattoos. Yeah, is really cool. And it's cool because my clients get to be a part of that. I think a lot of the people that I attract, like client-wise, are people that are interested in the outdoors, or they don't want to be in a big busy studio. We're just chilling in my little cabin looking out over the mountains, and it's a bit more laid back.
That's awesome. I mean, that's so dope. And when you talk about the experience, because the experience matters. It's not just about leaving with a tattoo that's rad. It's about the memory of that experience. And, I try to do the best I can in my studio, and I've got a pretty nice little private place I do my tattoos, and I think my clients like it, but that's like a whole nother level. That's when you think the memory they're going to have attached to the tattoo is going to be connected to the warmth of your family, the beauty of the nature. like it infuses the art with another layer of radness. You know, I think that's super cool.
And it's not to take away from the beauty of a great tattoo studio. Like, you know, I miss, you know, that grass is greener thing. I miss the hustle and bustle, and that's why I spend time at Shipshape and I spend time at the Raven and the Wolves in Long Beach, my boys. And you know, that I have these like homes away from home because I crave that, you know. And I think it's cool for clients. You think of like, you know, you can go to a restaurant. Maybe it's fucking chaos and they're shouting at each other and they're rude to you, and then you leave and you don't come back. Or, you know, maybe you go and it's like this little ma and pa, like fast food thing, and you know it's special and you always go there. Or maybe you're going to a fine dining restaurant and it's like this perfectly curated experience where they really look after you and think about every little part of that meal because they know that you saved up and waited to go and have that meal. This is what tattooing is, you know. So people will spend all of they save up all their money, they put in all this work to come and collect art from you, and it's one of the most important special things they'll do in their life. So if you treat it anything less than that, you need to fucking reevaluate, you know. Like, and that's the other side to this, you know. The art's important, and it has to be important to you, but the experience has to be important too, you know. And there's lots of ways to do that, you know. You know, a street shop's important, you know, and a big private studio is important. A little private studio is important, but you need to be doing it for the clients and for the right reason, not just for yourself, you know. Yeah.
Agreed. It can be done in a lot of different physical locations. I think it really has more to do with the energy the tattooer brings to it, right? And like you, in my way, and I think a lot of the tattooers I know and respect, it's the same for them. Is you're just bringing attention to that person that goes beyond the tattoo. You're thinking about them and every little aspect of their day, from when they walk in to when they leave. I mean, I just think what you're doing is just another level to that game. That's so cool. But let me ask you this, because you're these 3-day, 4-day, 5-day, 9-day sessions. I want to talk a little bit about pain management. Do you use any techniques, or do you have any special advice, or is it just old school, sit down, breathe with me, and we're going to get through this? Because those are I've done some 3 days with people, 4. I don't know if I've ever done 4, or I've never been tattooed for 4 days or 5 days. I've never tattooed somebody for that long. I'm just curious how you're managing them when it comes to the ability to grind for that long.
So I work in layers, like a oil painting. And say if you were getting your back done by me, and the first time you'd come over, we'd get the stencil on and we would work on the piece, like butt cheeks first day, you know, lower back second day, mid third day, shoulders fourth day. So the shoulders are the relief, and you're like, thank fuck we're on the shoulders, you know. And we manage the pain through starting in the worst space and moving forward and never going back to an area. And then when you come back in, we do another 4 days, for example, or 3 days or whatever, and I just run through and do like another pass and start to build up saturation and start to build up, you know, like shapes, and really thinking about it like a painting and just working on developing all of these edges and shape and values and, you know, structure and you know, looking and letting it heal, and then looking at it and taking a photo and comparing to my reference and what's better, what's worse, you know, like what can I change, looking at other paintings for inspiration on, you know, tonal composition, or, you know, value composition, where needs to be dark, where needs to be light, and I just build that up. And this way we don't stay in one area until the person's fucking dying, and we just chug along and move forward, and we only work from 10 till 5. It's not crazy days. We use like a vat of Bactine, and that's about it. Yeah, it's like just being thoughtful and imagining what that's like on yourself. Go get tattooed for 5 days if you're going to tattoo people for 5 days too, you know. Like in Māori culture, we get one of the tattoos is a puhuru, and it's like pants. It goes from below your knees to your midsection, and they do it over 5 days, you know. And on the first day they do rapidapi, which is the spirals on your butt, you know, and then they move out from there, because the butt's kind of the worst part. So and I adopt those techniques and that sort of what and a bit of what that's about. Like, so to get your puhuru done is like a rite of passage. It's how you become a man or a woman. It's one of the most brutal things you'll do in your life, and it gives you mana, and it commands respect, and it fucking shows people that you're tough enough to do it. So I guess when we do these Western tattoos, it still has a very big, significant spiritual and life-changing effect on us, I think. So I think just kind of embracing that and respecting the fact that these people are going through fucking hell to get these tattoos is really important. Like, I've got clients, like Lee, the guy with the Rafter Medusa, and he's got the manhunt on his back. You got some of you guys will have seen him. He came to Gods of Ink with me. His back piece, you'd have to ask him, but I think it took 60 days. It goes from the top of his back to his ankles. Like, it's half a bodysuit. It was about that. I don't know, 50 or 60 days. That's a fucking lot of pain and money and time and dedication. Like, that's like a transformative experience. In his life, there will be few things that are that taxing physically, emotionally, financially, that is going through that tattoo. So you fucking be real respectful of that.
Absolutely. Well, then that's cool the way you explain that to me as a tattooer. I'm thinking, I wonder what is technically the approach is here, but that makes sense, especially if I look at your work and I'm like, I assume there's layers to it. Just I can look at it and know it. Like, to be able to get that deepest of blacks and the softest of grays in just one first pass, pretty. Maybe you could get away with it once in a while in a small area on a tattoo. You get lucky and that one movement. But when you get that big, and I see what you're saying, like, grab the worst parts first, get on the butt cheek, move some ink efficiently. Don't sit there and dally and keep messing around in the same little spot over and over. You need a general amount of gray across here, put it in there. You need some good black here, put it in there, and move on. And you're getting into fresh skin each time. And then you see them on the next one. Now you can deepen some values, accentuate some values. That's what I thought you might say. But I could also see how working in that fashion could get somebody the ability to sit for that many days, because you're going to have some, Yeah.
And this is another thing, a lot of people, like, they will reach out to me for a tattoo and be like, nah, fucking this guy said he'll do it in half that amount of time. Or tattooist being like, man, that's a ripoff. He takes way too long. He's just milking it. He's whatever. And it's like, well, fucking, show me the same thing quicker. Because I've fucking tried. I used to do 5-day back pieces and they're fine. And like, there's something special about a big, simple tattoo. And if that's your style, then that's sick. But it's not mine. My goal is how far can I push this? What's possible? And I want to see like how far I can go. Where can I push this to, and what can I achieve? And the healed work speaks for itself. And having taking it around the world and showing like my heroes, Carlos and Philip and Mickey and all those cats, for them to see it and be like, yeah, you're on to something, Matt. Like that was cool for me, because I look up to those guys, and I remember Carlos used to tell me to slow down, and when we first started hanging out, he's like, just slow down, man. You could do better, So I slowed right down, and I did way better. Yeah, it's important, like to I guess to take that advice and to really think about how you can be better, because I know I've got a lot I could learn, and there's a lot I still look at my work and I'm like, fuck, I can do X, Y, and Z. So it's important to keep that. And yeah.
Very cool. And those names you mentioned, yeah, all of us would love a compliment from one of those guys. Those are some of my heroes as well. Well, very well. Let's kind of wrap it up here. But I want you to tell, like, how long is someone gonna have to wait to get tattooed by you?
I'm taking expressions of interest for next year. So I'm wrapping up a lot of my projects for the art exhibition. And they'll be all there at a lot of those clients will be there at the exhibition, which is really exciting.
I was going to ask you that. So there's going to be some of the people that you've tattooed physically there as well.
Yeah, on the opening night, there's going to be a room full of big naked ass tattooed people for everyone to have a look at in person as well. But so I'm wrapping up all those projects, and then I'm taking on new projects for next year. I want to do some more back pieces and sleeves and leg sleeves, and I want a clean skin bodysuit is my main goal. That'd be sick to be able to compose a whole body with this one big cohesive image in mind. I got some fucking cool ideas for that, and I guess that's it. You just reach out to me, flick me an email or whatever, and we start the process. Get you over. Do the design and have you come stay, and it's pretty straightforward, man. And New Zealand's a small country. I charge a lot less than a lot of big countries and stuff do because our economy's not great, and I'm happy with that. It's a good income for me and my family, and we supply a lot for it. I'm very proud of it. I don't think people could get an experience like what we do. For the amount of money it costs, in a big center, no fancy fucking shit. It's just we just do it, So that's it, man. Reach out, hit me up. I guess keen. Fuck 'em. I only wanted to. I generally take on about 10 clients because then I can really dedicate a lot of time to composing and creating really good tattoos.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, with the amount of work you're putting in pre-tattoo, you couldn't have 50 clients a year. You're giving your utmost attention to each of those projects. Yeah. Well, I don't know who's listening right now, but if you've taken a look at Matt's work, I think it speaks for itself. The experience of visiting New Zealand and your home and the whole way you're doing all that is just very, very cool. So I have no doubt you're going to have plenty of people lining up. Hopefully one of them has buttery, creamy skin and wants a full bodysuit. I'm going to put that vision out there for you. I'd even fly out and help you out. I got no room left, buddy. But right on, man. Thank you for sharing a bit about yourself, your work, this show you're putting together. I wish you the best of luck with that. We'll try to get this. We will. I think my people told me we're going to get this episode put out before your show because we have a little bit of a list, but we're going to shove you to the front because we need the world to hear about this before it happens. I don't know where I'll see you. Maybe going to Paris in January.
I'll probably skip it this time.
Oh, you're taking a break. That's right. You're taking a break.
I'm not allowed to do anything until June, or my wife might kill me in my sleep. Yeah.
Well, that's all right. I'll catch you at the next Gods of Ink. I think I was there the last one you were there, but I was doing this show the whole time, so I didn't get out and
catch up. And I want to get out to America and come see all my friends and family out there, and I want to keep this ball rolling. So yeah, I'm pumped. But thank you so much. It's an honor to be on the show. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
And keep up the great work, I guess.
Well, and you too, my friend. You're an inspiration to me, and I know so many others. So nothing but respect. Thank you for everything today. And I don't know when, but I know it's a small tattoo world. I'll bump into you soon enough.
The world. We'll see you there. All right.
Sounds good, Matt. Take care, buddy.
Bye.